struggled a bit. So how important is it for you?
Look, the PBA is difficult because the conference system, and then also the one import.
Yeah.
And it's something I'm really trying to work on in terms of understanding how to make it more fair. Because you could get, Steph Curry on your team. If he's never played with those guys, and he's just playing in the ESL, you're not going to have a competitive, not going to have a competitive team. It's going to be at a disadvantage, right? So I think it's important that we figure out how to get that roster fixed, so that they can carry those two imports, and then they can have that experience together, just like all the other teams do. But the other thing is that PBA does have different conferences, and essentially plays 11 months of the year. Again, it's the first season running this. I think a lot of the issues were with us. It wasn't with the PBA. It just so happened TNT and Morocco had injuries too, a lot of injuries, and that was just unfortunate. If that was a fully stacked team and they were healthy, and including the imports being healthy, I think you would have seen a very, very different outcome. I've been around basketball for a while, including when we did the tournaments in Macau, and people talk, oh, the CBA is going to come in and beat everyone. I'm like, you don't know what you don't know. The Koreans are serious, the Japanese obviously are serious. If the PBA, like Ginebra or San Miguel, who just won, if those guys show up, I guarantee you it would be, I'm not going to say they're going to win, but they would have no problem competing.
But are there talks about maybe adjusting the rules on the imports? Because you mentioned about the one import, but Korea also has, I think they also have a different rules on imports, if I'm not mistaken. And Japan has its
6-8.
own. So is there like plans to maybe make some changes in order for it to be fair to everyone? Maybe
I think it's difficult to be a policeman on domestic rules. So an example, Philippines recognizes Phil-Ams as locals, right? But FIBA doesn't recognize them as locals, but we recognize them as locals, right? I think Japan right now is considering, again, this is just, I don't know if this is fact, but I think they're considering expanding the Asian import meaning. Right now, obviously 30, Kiefer, Kai Soto, all these guys are playing their Ramos, but that's because the definition of an Asian import is China, Korea, Philippines. If they expand that to include Australia, you're going to see Aussie Asian imports in the Japanese league. Are we going to have a problem saying, well, they have two imports and this guy and this guy? Maybe, but we have to respect the league rules of PBA, of B League, of KBL. I think what that does is it strengthens those teams and those leagues when they're playing against the best of the best. And all of the leagues and all of basketball in general is changing very quickly. Our job is to say, you have two imports, and if you consider them a local in your league, they're a local. And so that's what our policy is now, and I think going forward, there's going to be fine-tuning in agreement with all the leagues. There's going to be fine-tuning. We want to make it as fair as possible, but inevitably there's domestic changes that are happening. So,
Sir, this past season was TNT and Meralco. Mostly Meralco did win the championship or make the finals. Next season, when we're sure that the PB can send maybe the San Miguel or runner-up Magnolia or the old Filipino champion for next season, when you're sure they can play.
Right. Obviously the Japan League finishes in essentially late May. The KBL is still underway. The P Plus League is still underway. So we have some time till we know which teams are playing. That's the same with the PBA. We're in discussions, and we'll know soon in terms of the qualification from PBA for next season.